All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome back to Stony Island. You are here with Stony James. Drop a like, drop a comment. Make sure you share this with your good people. Let them know there's a good black man in this space that is trying to get to 1 million subscribers. So that's the road. Help me get there, please. I'm in here right now doing a reaction to how generational wealth for black families is a scam. Everything is a scam. Let's just see how they're scamming us today.
Generational wealth, buy land, pool your resources, make sure you're owning it. Ownership, ownership, ownership. We get it, right? There's so much about that has been very helpful throughout the black community, especially for the last like 5 to 6 years. But the thing is, if we were truly owning land and owning property like we say we are, we would have more property as a collective, right? We can look these things up, and we're still lagging behind every other race. So my next question is, how helpful is it for us to continue to push the narrative of purchasing land and pushing property? Now, don't get it twisted. I think that there's value in that, but I feel like buying land and ownership is a natural consequence of a cohesive, ethnic, thriving group. And by that I mean, how are we, just think about it, like how are we going to own all of our land? Let's say we have a hypothetical community of 100 people. How are 100% of those people going to own land if most of them aren't even making enough money to purchase the land, right? But let's say they were making all that money, and all these 100 people in this community that is impoverished, that lacks self-love, that has self-hatred tendencies, that aren't being mentally supported, their mental health is lacking, and they're also, a lot of the people in this community of 100 people don't even realize, right? They don't even realize what the hell the problem is. So we're giving them money and we're telling them buy land, and that's going to somehow miraculously fix all our problems. And for me personally, I don't think that's the panacea that people are pushing it out to be. And I'm saying that because even if all of us got the money right now to own our own land, own our own schools, own our own this, own our own that, we're still missing that collective sense of community, respect, honor, and allegiance to one another. I
Conflict. This is one of those things that is very difficult for me to discuss because I choose to believe the best in our people and not harp on what's been publicized about our people, which is the absolute worst. That we don't know how to work together, that we all messed up, that we all poor. Um, I'm trying to be fair and give this a shot. I understand that to this point, the scam is about we are not even well enough to own things. I don't want to be reductive. I will give her a fair shot. And here we go.
I feel as though that's a bit too lofty of a goal for where we're at, right? We are not thriving in terms of our mental health, our physical health, our spiritual health, and our health as a collective.
All right, so I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get through this. One step at a time. This is the problem I have with our people. It's like you shooting down the idea before we can even try. Why don't we try and see if it works instead of talking about mapping out the 17 different reasons why it won't work? I don't mean be obtuse and act like everything is fine, it's all roses, and we can just go ahead, pool our money together, and is we on the way to utopia, right? At the same time, this is extremely negative. This is the stuff that makes dreams die. Like this is where dreams go to die. These are the people you talk to and find out I'm not gonna be able to work with you. If it's somebody, it's not gonna be you because are you talking about us all the ways why it won't happen? Again, I'm trying to be fair. This is not going in a very positive direction, which I would have thought just just from the title, this will be more about like the man, right? Somebody keeping us down. She's alluding to some of the things that are like issues in the so-called black community, but it's more so just about all of the reasons why we can't have nice things.
There's so much about the black community where we've kind of got lost and we've kind of forgot about how we naturally are, and we naturally function best in tribes, right?
Communal
That's
people.
human nature. Even
Yes.
this video I'm making is for people. You're watching it, another person. The music you listen to is put together by another person, right? You might be thinking of a presentation you need to put together for tomorrow for your boss. We're such a collective and tribe-like people, and we've always moved that way. And I feel like with
So why can't we do it all over again?
capitalism and the individualistic nature of wealth attainment has really run rampant throughout the black community, to where we're neglecting so many of the other more fundamental steps to get there first. And in my mind, I'm not anti purchase your property, own your land and all that stuff. Absolutely. But my thing is, if we're truly trying to find solutions for us as a whole and really try to remedy some of the issues that we have that's really plaguing our minds, right? Because it's our minds more than anything else. I don't see why purchasing property or how purchasing property is going to fix that. I think the focus should be less on purchasing property and more on gaining respect and gaining back, seeing the humanity in one another. Caring about whether your next door neighbor, who is this old black woman, whether she ate today, does she have enough sugar in her closet, right? Did she get to her medical appointment? I think we need to start caring more about each other and being that point of contact, like checking in with one another. I think that helps foster that sense of community that we're missing, right? Because forget about what everybody else thinks about us. We know what goes on in our community. Like, we know that and I live in a black neighborhood, right? And it's mostly older people where I live, but it's a lot of respect here. It's super clean here. People would think, oh, you live in a black area, I'm sure the roads are dirty, this, that. No, this is probably one of the cleanest neighborhoods I've ever lived in.
So why do you push that narrative when you already live in the area that this is the problem I have with people. Like, you live around black people. You live in an area that's actually one of the nicest places, like in the surrounding area. You admitting to that. And then you saying, oh, we all messed up. We need to learn how to be a community again. We got mental health issues and all. Like, what are you doing? This is pissing me off.
Right? Just because it's a black neighborhood doesn't make it synonymous with dirty or impoverished or anything of that sort. I felt the safest of anywhere that I lived in New York, in the neighborhood that I live in now. And we know these things about our community, but we also know there are other sides to that. We do know we got Pookie and Ray Ray shooting shit up, right? We do know that we have the YNs nowadays who don't give a damn about whoever. And my thing is, how do we as a collective sell Pookie, Ray Ray, and the YNs on the fact that your mind is impoverished, your mind is in shackles still? How am I going to tell them to pool their resource? Pookie doesn't give a damn about Ray Ray. Pookie will gun Ray Ray down in an instant if Ray Ray looks at him wrong. So my thing is, like, if we're supposed to really be caring about us as a collective, how can I pull you up by shoving down your throat to purchase property and buy land? And the only reason why I'm making this video on land ownership, property ownership, generational wealth is because I feel like there's a huge narrative around that in the financial and like the thriving black spaces. And I'm here for it. Anything that gets us together, doing something positive, it's uplifting, and it gives us that sense of community, I'm here for it. I love it. But I think that the problem is a little bit deeper than that. And I feel like, again, like I said earlier, ownership for the average black person is a little bit too lofty, right? Because again, we're usually not making that. We already know we're not making the proper money to even get that. And sometimes we are also victims, or many times we're victims of redlining, where we'll get higher interest rates, higher everything just because we're black, right? But also, we can't look at it in such an individual way. If we want to truly own land and we want to really like own certain neighborhoods and we own this block, like, you know, how other ethnic groups do, as they should. If we want to own our blocks, we have to do that as a collective. So how am I going to get my next door neighbor, the one down the street, as I just sit here and think, the one down the street, there, who's all interested in buying it, But do they trust me? Do we have trust in the neighborhood? Do we have trust amongst one another? Do you look at me as your kin, or am I just that black girl who makes videos? Am I your sister, or am I somebody you feel like you have to protect yourself from? Am I somebody that you want to help really be in her purpose, or am I somebody that you'd rather support from afar? That's what I'm talking about. And I think that's really the crux of the issues that we face as to why we are not as collective and we don't function really as a proper thriving ethnic group should. Like, look at that.
When you start communicating with people, you can break through a lot of those barriers. So instead of sitting in the room pontificating on all of these things that could go wrong, should go wrong, may go wrong, you sound like you high off some good shit, honestly. Like, you're doing a little bit too much thinking about the wrong stuff. It's not just that you're doing a lot of thinking. You're thinking about the wrong things. You're thinking about everything that'll get in your path that'll stop you from making that happen. And that's the number one way to not make it happen, right? The focus about generational wealth is all about property when there are other ways to build wealth. I understand building the community and keeping it within the community doesn't have to be here either. But since we're talking about being here in the United States of America, there are other ways to build wealth. So I'm a little bit confused about the idea this is about how to build generational wealth and how that's a scam for black families. But all you're talking about is the ills of society, the ills of our communities, and how we can't get right. First of all, sister, I love you. I appreciate you for making this video. I know that you worked hard on this. I'm a creator myself. I understand what it takes to sit down and do any of this. A lot of times it's way more work than people get to see from the finished product. I don't want to just take a shit all over your work, but I can't get through this. I'm not going to be able to do it.
I think you're not going to be able to do it.
I think I want more for my community. I want more for our communities than to just sit around and talk about all of the things that are going wrong. Or to sit around and talk about all of the reasons why it can't happen. No, you are providing your idea of the solution in that we need to get back to being communal people. We need to get back to the tribal aspect of who we are. I'm not mad at that. It's just the angle that you chose to go at this from is just bothering me. And so I'm going to leave a link in the comments for anybody that would like to continue this. But like, here's where I get off the train. Sometimes this happens. But I love y'all. Love yourself. I'm up out of here.
As soon as a nigga start talking progress, is a lot of y'all minds go straight to why it won't work. That's your first mind, is to tell me why. Oh, niggas ain't gonna organize. Why? White people ain't never been pessimistic about their ability to steal.
Never.
Huh? They ain't never said it ain't gonna work. No. Huh? They gonna steal a country and people. No, nobody was like, this ain't gonna work. Nah, niggas was extremely optimistic about that. I'm telling niggas to observe the last 40 years, oh, niggas ain't gonna organize. Oh, black people are our own worst enemy. To absolve white supremacy like that, bro, to absolve it by putting it on us, you're going to put it on yourself, because the pessimism that you have around revolution means you don't want to do it. The pessimism, if your first mind is to why it won't work, that just means you don't want to do the work. You don't want to see it work. You're comfortable in this state. You're comfortable in this space. You like niggas being in disarray. That gives you something to talk about.
Niggas is scared.
They scared
of change.
They scared of change. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They fine with what they looking at in the mirror right now. They're okay with it. Yeah. Right? And there's an individualism to it too. Oh, well, shit, as long as I get myself together. Yeah. Fuck the rest of these niggas. You know what I mean? It ain't me. If I can do it, you can do it too. I'm telling you to lock hands and walk forward together, and you telling me why it's not gonna work.